Hi folks, and welcome to another episode of From Amateur to Expert Daily, where we talk about your work, your wealth, and how to position yourself as a top-level expert. If you haven't subscribed, please do, and if these videos are proving useful to you, please feel free to share them. I believe people need them now more than ever. Well, today's episode is going to be scruffy, scrappy, rough, and ready. And what I mean by that is, if you hear dogs barking outside, or a 3-year-old roaring like a dinosaur, or perhaps if a spouse wanders in and walks around semi-nude, it's going out like that because we just don't have the time. Here's the scenario. Last week Wednesday, Penguin got hold of me and asked if I could write an entire business book on how small businesses can survive this crisis within the course of a week. And I have 3 days left to get the entire thing done. I'm up to 20,000 words of what's going to be about a 30,000 word manuscript, so we're well on track. Call me impatient, but I can't wait for it to come out. I would like to start sharing the ideas with you already. So the book goes into a lot more detail about each of these ideas, but on the off chance that they are going to serve you now and that they will better serve you if they get to you now, let's cover the first 5 out of the 50 ways that your business can survive the crisis. Number 1 is a psychological one. Choose to fight for it. This is your business. This is your baby. This is something that you have built with your blood, sweat, and tears. And it is more than just a thing to do. It's more than just a profit-generating mechanism. Cognitive psychologist Steven Pinker points out that the greatest peacekeeping force in human history has been trade. It is one of the most important things that we do as a civilization. And even if your business does something that is ostensibly fairly trivial, I would like you to think about it in a bigger way. I would like you to remember that you are connected to an entire economy. It doesn't matter that you just make balloons or that you just do something novel, trivial, or small. What you do is a small contributing building block to the entire backbone of civilization. Our economies keep us going, and they help our families to go further by the generation. The fact that we are able to generate prosperity means that our children can know more, do more, have more than our generation. And that is something noble and worth pursuing. This is your baby, and I'd like you to choose and make the conscious choice to fight for it. Now, related to that idea is the concept that shared missions can be galvanizing. What I mean by that is you are very definitely going to go through some tough times. We are all going to be finding compromise. We are all going to be living slightly reduced lives for a span of time. How long? We don't know. The estimate at the moment is about 6 months, but we'll see how that goes. However, we don't need to look at it as a reduction. If you choose to look at it as a mission, it actually becomes a galvanizing, unifying, energizing, and innovating idea. So don't simply leave your tribes, your family, or your employees to muddle through on their own. Gather them up and create a sense of mission. Hardships can be the most gratifying things we go through if managed correctly. Get people to find ways in which they can cut costs, in which they can contribute, creative things that they can do, but talk to them in the sense that this is a mission and we're going through it together, rather than leaving them isolated, scattered, dispersed, and wondering what's going on. If you handle this correctly, you can actually come out of it stronger on the far side with good experiences in your wake. Another thought. Your worst enemy at the moment is becoming stuck, the sense of becoming bogged down, of becoming depressed, of feeling like there is no hope. Elite forces teach their teams that movement is life. So what I'd like you to do is I would like you to pre-program an idea into your mind, which is the thing you will do if you feel stuck. And it's as simple as, I will go for a walk, or I will go and make a cup of coffee. I will call someone and ask for their help. I will walk outside and. It doesn't matter what it is. Perhaps a trip to the gym. Mine is still going, although you have to wait in a little queue outside. Everyone's spread out and you have to wait until there are fewer than, I think, 99 people in the gym. Then they will let you in. Nevertheless, I'm still going. So determine in advance what it is that you will do when you get stuck. And then when you feel that sense of lethargy setting in, that hopelessness starting to take hold, I don't want you to agonize about it. Instead, I want you to simply fall back on your program. Get up, do the thing that gets you out of the swamp. Teach it to your team as well. Idea number 2, get your head around the size of the challenge. So I'd like you to get a little bit of perspective here, and we're going to do two specific things in order to do that. And this becomes ideas number 3 and 4. One of these you must do. The other one is negotiable depending on your scenario. So getting your head around your scenario, the first thing you do is to know your numbers. Nothing orients quite like numbers. I'd like you to aggregate your numbers and study them. All of your income, all of your expenditures, your costs, your profits, everything for the past couple of months and for this month, if you can possibly get your hands on them. What does the information tell you? Are there product lines that are doing dismally badly, but is there perhaps one thing that is still selling? Could you get rid of the other things? Could you focus on the one thing that is doing well? What are the numbers actually telling you? Are there revenue streams that remain strong? Is shrinkage perhaps up in your business? Is over-the-counter down? Are your deliveries picking up? Are you getting a lot more emails asking for delivery? What is the full picture? And it's very important that you, the owner of the business, have access to and mastery over those numbers. Perhaps rather depressingly, some studies have estimated that up to a third of startups fail because of fraud and because of theft. Now here we're not talking about casual pilfering, we're talking about fraud on the part of the person who has access to your books and to your accounts. 1/3 of startups fail because of that. That is a frighteningly high statistic. And what that tells us, the degree to which that is a high stat, tells us that most people don't believe it will happen to them. Do not fall prey to that right now. Firstly, you can't afford it at the best of times. Secondly, the temptation to do that is higher now than ever. It's a bit of an unfortunate one, but it's one that we must keep our eyes on. Let's be realistic. So, know your numbers, get your head around that. The next thing is know your dependencies. And by dependencies, I mean your supply chains. Who do you rely on to do what you do? So long as they continue to serve you, it's important that you also continue to support them. The weird irony of this whole scenario is if everyone keeps working, then everyone keeps working. But it's a game of perceptions here. And in some cases, people simply can't work because businesses have been boarded up. It's impractical to do so. But so far as everyone else is able to do so, we must. It keeps things going, keeps the economy healthy. The more people shut down, the more businesses shut down, the more other businesses shut down in a knock-on effect. So if your channels are still serving you, please continue to support them. Fidelity aids everyone, and this crisis is largely a battle of perceptions in terms of the business world. If you are faithfully being paid by creditors, please faithfully pay your debtors. It makes a big difference to them. If you're being faithfully supplied, pass the energy along. If everyone continues to do business, the business part of the crisis ends. Now that said, it remains prudent to prepare. You might lose your channels and your suppliers anyway, either through no fault of their own, simply because they cannot continue to operate, or because they might be impacted by someone else. I'd like you to make a list of alternatives. Who do you rely on right now and what is available? Now, I don't want you to make that switch, but I do want you to do the mental exercise necessary in preparation. If your primary suppliers, your primary support systems disappear, who can you turn to and what should you prepare now in case you have to do that very quickly? Getting your head around that now can help you to a great extent in the future. It's worth thinking about now. I reiterate, though, that I don't think you should do it on purpose because you will have a negative impact on someone else. If they are still supplying you, please stay with them. Just be ready. The next thing you're going to do. Now, this one is a conditional. You're either going to do it if it suits your scenario, or you're simply not going to do it if it does not suit your scenario. And that is promote situational awareness. So here we're discussing meetings and brainstorming sessions and getting people together. And that represents both an opportunity and a threat. In terms of the threat, if your staff, workers, employees, teams are better off simply being left to get on with the work, then for heaven's sake, don't call meetings. Don't clog up their bandwidth. Don't call meetings for the sake of creating a pleasing tableau that everyone gets to see everyone else. It's not important, or at least it has a limited importance. If they can get on with the work, then do not call meetings. Simply let them work. In the book, I'm going to provide quite a number of insights and ideas about remote working, how you can learn to trust your teams, how to switch to results-based work rather than micromanaging and checking in on them all of the time. One quick pointer on that one, if they are working remotely, it is already harder for an employee to hide a lack of work. They can't look busy if you're not looking at them. They can only provide results. So in many ways, that addresses the trust problem. If you are worried about trusting people like that, in many ways it is easier to manage remotely because only actual outcomes count, and you can't fake that. So one worth keeping in mind there. And thank you to Corné Hubbinger for that insight, among other experts who have contributed to that idea. Now let's assume that you should be meeting, that you do need your strategic people to hash this out and to understand what's going on here. I provide a model in the book, and I'll walk you through it very quickly, from the IDF, the Israeli Defense Force. And this is what they do. If you have, let's just find it here. Each day, regardless of what has transpired, regardless of fatigue, regardless of any other factor, the IDF assemble their strategic people, in fact they assemble everybody, and they conduct an intensive debrief on that day's performance, non-negotiable. Agile organizations around the world have been studying the IDF and similar groups like the Navy SEALs and so on, and learning their protocols and using them for a long time now. This is a great one from the IDF. The point of the debrief is to create what they call total situational awareness. Every member of the team, from the most entry level to the most senior, must know precisely what's going on at every other level. And that is because blind spots can kill. Total situational awareness allows people to comprehend one another's challenges and to compensate with ideas or effort where necessary. If you are stuck and struggling and you're doing it in a silo, that's death to everyone else. However, if you're stuck and struggling and everyone is hashing it out, debating it, figuring out what's going wrong, what needs to be compensated for, they can help you and you can help them. It promotes total situational awareness, which creates greater strength. So if you weren't before, congratulations, you are now a debating, discussing, haggling, sharing, arguing, idea-sharing entity. And simple rules apply. Leave egos at the door. Hierarchy is out. We don't have the time for it. Everyone gets to speak, and the simple question at the end of every day and for every meeting is, what worked? What didn't? What do we do better tomorrow? And you have the meetings non-negotiable. Now that again is for your strategic people. If you have the time. If you have the time to bring in all of your workers and so forth, wonderful to get that total situational awareness. If you simply need people to get on with what they're doing, then just let them. Those are the first 5 ideas from what has been titled by Penguin, let me find the title of my own book, Virus-Proof Your Small Business, 50 Ways to Survive the COVID-19 Crisis. I'm still open to ideas. I have about 48 out of the 50, but nevertheless, the way in which I write, certain ideas can be collapsed together to allow for more ideas. If you have cost-saving ideas, if you have strategic ideas, something you'd like to share with other entrepreneurs, please email info@douglaskrugerspeaker.com. And also come back tomorrow, we'll cover some more ideas. Here's hoping you make it through intact, and here's honoring your contribution to humanity. If you're enjoying these daily videos on how to position yourself as an expert, do remember that you can go a step further now. The book Own Your Industry, How to Position Yourself as an Expert is now available as a course. It comes with video inserts, quizzes, and it helps you to implement these ideas into your world. Visit futureselfacademy.com and sign up for Own Your Industry, the course.